Ukraine bombing Iranian ship. I haven't heard anything about that yet, so looking forward to finding out.
All right, well, let's go into today's news. It started off a pretty quiet day, and then it lit up about a couple of hours ago. So let's talk about the latest developments. You can play that video, Stephanie. So we know about the Houthis. The Houthis bombed Saudi. All started with Saudi. The Saudi blockade. Saudi blockaded the plane landing in Yemen. Before you play the video, I'll just give an overview, Stephanie, and then prep the video to play it. So the Saudis blockaded Yemen, the Houthi-controlled side of Yemen. That blockade has existed for over a decade. And then the Houthis retaliated by attacking Saudi. It was a limited attack, the first one. And the Saudis retaliated.
They hit 2 airfields, I think.
No, yeah, exactly. That's the first attack, yeah. And then the Saudis retaliated by striking the port, and it went quiet. We thought, okay, the Saudi backed off. Remember, for a few days, we thought the Saudis backed off. And then the blockade. So what I think the Houthis are doing is using the Iranian strategy that worked against the almighty United States of America, Hormuz, forcing Trump to fold. The Houthis are like, oh, we could do the same thing with Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Let's blockade Saudi and force them to remove that blockade over us that's existed for over a decade. They blockaded Saudi. Saudi retaliated by striking their port, which gets struck all the time. And then the Houthis attacked ships, Saudi ships. Saudi bombed them again. I don't know if I got the chronology correct. And then the Houthis just went gloves off and bombed the Aramco facility.
Genza, or however they pronounce it, is it is the most modern oil refinery in the world. And so the Houthis have now taken it offline for at least 4 months. Significant. And now, if the ball is in the Saudis' court, are they going to continue to try to escalate this and, go back and strike Hodeidah again and actually try to hurt, damage port facilities in Yemen, in the Houthi-controlled territory? Well, if they do, man, they are dumb as a rock, because the Houthis' next step, they will take out Yanbu. And at Yanbu, you got 2 refineries or 2 oil terminals, one's north and one's south. And you take out those terminals, that takes another 4.5-5 million barrels of oil a day off the world market, and really endangers Saudi's cash flow. So far today, they appear to have recognized that, they can bomb things in Houthi land, and there's nothing that the Houthis are not sitting on world-class, sophisticated infrastructure. They say, we're going to bomb you back to the 15th century, and they go, okay, well, we're living in the 14th century, so we'll take that as an advance.
Sad, but true.
That Saudi threat doesn't carry a lot of weight. Whereas for the Houthis, when they say, we're going to take you from the 21st century back to the 18th century, the Saudis better damn well pay attention. Now, what's interesting in this is Pakistan's staying the hell out of this. They're not getting in the middle.
Yeah, and it got ugly today. Just for the audience to understand why the Bab el-Mandeb Strait is so important. So about 20% of global oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz, and about 5% flows through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, and that impacts Saudi the most. And Saudi, in a way, out of the Gulf, it benefited the most from the Hormuz closure, because they just got their oil out of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait through the east-west pipeline, the Yanbu.
Yeah, it still took like 40% of their oil offline, they couldn't move it all through the pipeline. But what they're selling is at a higher price, so they're the best off of the Gulf states right now.
Pipeline that you just referencing. So everyone was watching the Houthis throughout the war. Will the Houthis join? Will they close the Bab el-Mandeb Strait? That was like a big wild card that the Iranians have, and they haven't used it. Well, now it has been partially used against the Saudis, which impacts the global energy market. And it got a lot worse today, because today, for the first time in a while, I don't know how long exactly, the war restarted by the looks of it between the Saudi-backed group and the Houthis, the Saudi-backed Al-Juyai tribal fighters. They started marching towards the Houthi-controlled area. They've just arrived to that line, separation line, and you can play the footage now, Stephanie, to show that came in less than an hour ago. This footage, you can play it, Stephanie.
That is shooting.
Yeah, you can remove it. You can hear the bullets getting closer.
Zinging by.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that started, which is it's just sad, because Yemen has been through so much. So it's just sad to see. And all eyes are on Yemen now to see if that escalates, because that hurts the global economy, obviously, through the Bab el-Mandeb Straits, through the Saudi oil infrastructure as well. As we've talked before, you could explain probably better denies how much damage the Houthis can cause the Saudis if this continues to escalate. So, worrying developments on that front.
No, but it's, well, again,
Yep.
the Saudis with the Houthis are in the same position the United States is with Iran.
So this is happening in Yemen, somewhere here.
They try to escalate. The Saudis get hurt worse than the Houthis. If the United States tries to escalate, the U.S. gets hurt worse than Iran.
Exactly.
That appears to have, that message appears to have gotten through to Donald Trump, which, we've not seen the renewal of attacks yesterday. It doesn't look like it's going to happen today.
Yeah, no reports of it. There were explosions in Bandar Abbas.
Well, this guy, Malcolm Nance, thinks that the reason attacks paused today is because U.S. is doing maintenance on all their planes for another all-out big attack. So we'll have to see what happens with that.
But is not confirmed. That was about an hour ago. About 45 minutes ago. But it's not confirmed strikes, and American officials said that was not them, according to they spoke to Axios. So there's no strikes tonight by the looks of it. Still early. We'll see. It should start in the next hour or two if there are strikes. If there's no strikes by the time we finish this interview, the likelihood of strikes tonight drops significantly, and the likelihood of strikes at all this weekend drops. So we'll have to wait till next weekend, till when the markets close, most likely. We'll move to the next story. I don't know if you know much about this one. The Ukrainians struck an Iranian cargo ship. They're going through, I don't know if it's an oil tanker or not, going through to Russia in the Caspian Sea, killing one sailor.
An Iranian?
Oh, you didn't see that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah. So that's it's what part of the Shadow Fleet.
What's the news report on that? Who's the source?
It's been confirmed. The Iranians also, the Iran, according to Iran's foreign ministry, has summoned Ukraine's chargé d'affaires in Tehran over what it claims was a Ukrainian attack on an Iranian commercial vessel in the Caspian Sea yesterday. Iranian officials lodged a formal protest describing the incident as a hostile and criminal act. That surprises you?
Caspian Sea. So Ukraine hit an Iranian ship on the Caspian Sea all the way over here. Yeah. Ukraine is just lashing out at everyone.
No, not necessarily. I mean,
the Iranian foreign ministry condemned what it said was a Ukrainian. I've got a statement quickly if you like. Was a Ukrainian attack on an Iranian commercial vessel in the Caspian Sea, saying an explosion killed one crew member and injured another. The ministry said the attack violated international law and the UN Charter, accusing Ukraine of carrying out a criminal and provocative act. It called the UN Assembly, the UN Security Council, the UN Secretary General, blah, 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 to hold Ukraine accountable. Ukraine has not commented on Iran's allegations.
Yeah, well, all it does is sours relationships with Iran, but, Ukraine is firmly in the Israeli camp anyway.
It is.
Again, it's so bizarre because Israel claims to be, well, man, we're against those Nazis and the Holocaust. That's awful. And yet here they are embracing neo-Nazis. Makes you think maybe the Holocaust wasn't that important after all. I mean, honestly, if that's your priority, if that's, we're here because of the Holocaust. Okay, great. And yet you align yourself with Nazis? Sorry, you lose your credibility at that point. That's like saying, I'm against pedophilia, but I'm signing up with my pedophilia buddies here, and we're gonna cooperate on a business project. Whoa. Standards are standards. Principles are principles.
Which members of the Ukrainian government or military are part of the? I know there's the Azov battalion.
Zelensky has outright honored Ukrainian war criminal Nazis who slaughtered 100,000 Poles during World War II. So, genocide, actual genociders, and they're being honored. Brigades being named after them. Yeah, Ukraine is Nazi.
I'm not an expert in this. I know there's the Azov battalion. Had members that were supportive of Nazism.
The new head of the army is fully in, but apart from that, you've also got Zaluzhny. Zaluzhny is very deep into the whole Bandera culture. This is, you go back through the neo-Nazi roots of this whole movement that is backing Zelensky. I mean, it's dark. And I mean, the irony is, they tried him out conveniently and said, oh, we can't be Nazis because we got a Jew president. Yeah, okay.
The Bandera guy is Stephen Bandera, a radical 20th century Ukrainian nationalist leader.
Yemen war. Yes, Yemen war. This shooting over there. Saudi Arabia might be in trouble. The Red Sea's definitely closed, and we'll have to see if Yemen strikes its big port on the Red Sea and shuts everything down permanently. Don't think we're there yet.
The Bandera
Nice to have you here, Quantum Traveler.
guy is Stephen Bandera, a radical 20th century Ukrainian nationalist leader. And the Bandera movement refers to his militant faction of the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists and the armed wing, the Ukrainian Insurgent Army, back in the early 1900s.
He joined,
Right, so-
who joined with the Nazis. They created an SS unit. A
His faction declared
SS
Ukrainian independence, hoping for Nazi backing. When Germany refused, the Nazis imprisoned him in the Sachsenhausen concentration camp until 1944. After World War II, he lived in exile in Munich until a KGB agent assassinating him with poison in 1959. Oof.
Yeah, go back and ask the Poles about Bandera and the
Yeah, I know the
Volyn massacre. You know, that was embodying the same Nazi principle: you exterminate women, children. It's one thing to go kill combatants, but they rounded up more. They literally hung children with barbed wire from poles. Okay. The photographs are, I mean, there's historical evidence of this. It's not an exaggeration. And that's who these modern Ukrainians celebrate. You know, this wasn't George Washington. Trust me.
Yep.
I don't know.
Ukrainians aren't the good guys.
I'd like to think this is a fringe part of the Ukrainian government. That's what I'd like to think.
No. You have Zelensky just honoring the people that were hanging children with barbed wire. It's creating a whole row between Poland and Ukraine because of this. In other words, despite needing Polish support, honoring these Nazi war criminals was so important to Zelensky that he basically risked a big rift with Poland.
Area of expertise.
Yeah, Ukraine bombed an Iranian ship in the Caspian Sea. You know how they've been doing deep, long-range drone strikes into Russia? Well, one of them, they sent one all the way down here and hit a ship in the Caspian Sea that disconnects Iran here to Russia. It's just one more provocation. Yeah, it's connecting both wars together.
Don't think that. That's ridiculous. It's not a fringe. It's the heart and soul of it.
Yes.
Why do you think they've been renaming streets after the motherfucker?
Bandera.
Yes. And they just went and reburied another SS guy. No, look, this is the dark side of this Western Ukrainian population. They've got I'll send you a link to the video of this the son of von Wachtel. Von Wachtel, I guess is his name. He was the Nazi Gauleiter. He was the Nazi in charge of Ukraine. His counterpart in Poland, Hans Frank. Frank was the one that set up all the death.
Well, you hear about some stuff those Azov Brigade is doing on the front line to anyone they think is a Russian sympathizer. Civilians that choose not to evacuate. It's not pretty.
Death camps, you know, Kelmno, Treblinka, Sobibor, Majdanek.
No, Ukraine's not the good guys. Ukraine is, we're basically using Nazis, Nazi regime to fight and weaken Russia. And just to give you an idea, Ukraine, out of any democracy, has the most banned political parties. Banned political parties. Of any democracy. Ukraine holds the record for the most banned political parties of any modern democracy, having outlawed at least 17 pro-Russian parties since 2022 invasion. That's how it runs things. If you ban all the parties that are for things you don't like, then you hold elections, and it's not a democracy anymore at that point. Can you tell that to abandonism? I'm scared to tell that to him. Well, who is abandonism? All right. Is he a streamer or something? I don't know. Sorry.
Auschwitz. But von Wachter didn't do that, but he was responsible for, mass murders. And, it was, they went through to in Ukraine, they were exterminating Jews right and left. That's what I mean. This is, for modern Israel, who makes the Holocaust remembrance the heart and soul of their existence, to align themselves with people like this is sickening. It's disgusting.
Yeah. On the Houthi front, by the way, we just got a report now. Saudi fighter jets were reported above the Al Jauf Governorate, so we might see the Saudis get involved in the clashes right now. There hasn't been any strikes at all, but this just happened. This just came in 10 minutes ago. So as we're having our conversation.
Man,
so things are escalating in Yemen.
Saudi's got a flat learning curve. Good Lord. You think, okay, guys, you're gonna, it's the FAFO moment. They're going to lose Yanbu next. They lose Yanbu.
Then
what do they do? I mean, it's, they, in trading tit for tat, there's not a lot of tats to destroy in Houthi land, okay? They don't have great infrastructure, but what they do have, damn sophisticated missiles on mobile launchers that are virtually impossible to defeat and destroy. Whereas Saudi's got all sorts of infrastructure. Take out the oil terminals, blow up the pipeline. I'm not sure if there are any other major refineries in Saudi Arabia. I'm sure there are. And, the Houthis will just, bleed them dry.
Yeah. Yeah, the Saudis are in a very tricky position. They understand the importance of Bab el-Mandeb Strait. So they have two paths. One is to try to defeat the Houthis militarily, which you've just explained why that's a really bad idea. But the other one is just to make peace with the Houthis, but that would make the Houthis stronger.
Yeah, but the United States won't allow that, will it?
And long term, the Houthis know they've got, their hand around Saudi's neck, and they can close the Bab el-Mandeb Strait anytime. So it's a very tricky position for the Saudis.
But
you might be right. There's only
the only reason the Yemenis want to do that is because of the aggression of Saudi Arabia. This all started with the civil war in Yemen that I guarantee you the West was a major player in getting that ginned up, in part because they saw that the Houthis were aligned with Iran, and this is a way to try to hurt Iran. Now, this is, you can't separate that out.
Yeah. Look, I feel my heart goes out to the Yemeni people. They've just suffered so much. One of them suffering the most right now when it comes to poverty. Probably the poorest country in the Middle East, I think, is Yemen. It's just that bad in the country.
Yeah.
It's sad.
So they've been victimized. That's for sure.
What do you make of Trump calling off the strikes yesterday? So Axios reported that he ordered the military not to carry out strikes. It remains unclear whether that represents a one-day pause or the start of a broader halt in military operations. The U.S. military continues to prepare contingency plans for a possible return to major combat operations, but Trump has not authorized further strikes. And then they mentioned the Omani negotiations. The pause comes as Oman held talks in Tehran on reopening Hormuz. Two regional sources familiar with the negotiations said the talks have made progress and that Oman and Iran could reach an agreement over the weekend. Any proposed deal would ultimately require Trump's approval. So do you think there's three theories that I've got.
Wait. Any deal would require Trump's approval? Horseshit. They were going to make an agreement regardless of whether Trump likes it or not.
No, you can't question Axios, Larry. You can't question Axios, Larry.
Yeah, I can. There's not a damn thing Trump can do to open the Strait of Hormuz. We've made that point pretty clear.
Yes.
If
he could open straight, he would have done it by now.
Ravid disagrees, Larry. We can't disagree with Barack Ravid.
Well, I know he's got to follow his Mossad handlers, but this is, I thought we had all the indicators, embassies, French, German, Brits closing their embassies.
The Germans denied it. The Germans denied it today, this morning.
They denied that they closed. Okay, so they haven't closed. All right. The story yesterday was they closed. But okay,
yeah, I said it too. Yeah. They said today they didn't.
And then on top of that, you had flights being canceled. So it looked like the United States was going to do it. I fully expected it on Friday. I forgot to factor in the White House Correspondents Association dinner. So Trump didn't want to have a distraction while that's going on. He had to be the star of the show. Okay. So yesterday, after 13 days, we had 14 days, nothing. Now today, again, I thought that, with all those other indicators, and we talked about the arrival of the PH yesterday, the Poseidon's aircraft, which conduct ISR, that's an indicator that we're going to do something. But then today I got information. So you got Central Command, and under Central Command, they have what's called Africa AFCENT. So it's basically the Air Force central part of Central Command. AFCENT used to be based in Al Udeid and what was called the Combined Air Operations Center. We've talked about that before. So about a month, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, they closed down the CAOC, the Combined Air Operations Center. AFCENT moved its headquarters to Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina. Now, if they're going to conduct major air operations, strikes, CENTCOM's going to be issuing orders, and there's going to be coordination going back and forth between the AFCENT and CENTCOM. What I learned today was that communication is not happening. The folks at CENTCOM are doing their thing. The folks at the KOC, AFCENT are doing their thing, and there is no coordinated effort. Now, this either completely screwed up planning,
Possibly.
or there really is nothing serious in the works right now. And Trump may be waiting through the weekend because he's made 3 attempts to get the negotiations started. First, he went to Qataris and said, "Hey, go see the Iranians." Iran said, "No." Okay. Then he went to the PACs, the Pakistanis, Islamabad. Islamabad took a run and said, "Hey, they said no." Then Trump hosted the Iraqi prime minister, was his Aziz the other day, and sent him, "Hey, go talk."
Apparently, China, that is backing Pakistan, is getting fed up with the United States. It wants the United States to live up to its side of the MOU, is its position. And with Trump refusing to do that, it's basically sitting back and saying, okay, let's let things play out for a while until Trump comes begging and actually is ready to live up to the MOU.
Talk to the Iranians for us. Tell them we'd like to kiss and make up. And the Iranians said, "Screw you, we're not doing that." So Trump's like, okay, what do we do now? So that's where things stand. And then you saw the strong endorsement that China gave Iran at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting last week. Or you didn't see that?
No.
Yeah, go look up. Just do a search. Say, what did Wang Yi say about Iran during the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the SCO meeting? He was very firmly upholding Iran's right to do what it's doing. So the Chinese weighed in firmly on the side of Iran.
Trump is more likely to do something brash than beg. Well, I think he's been doing the brash. Everything so far is him doing the brash, but I think his hands are going to be tied once oil prices skyrocket and the shortage start. Republicans in Congress might band together to shut this Warren down and make him surrender to Iran if it gets to that. The rest, or China, you see, its position is already, okay, Trump just live up to the MOU, which is basically a document of surrender by Trump to Iran. And there's going to be other nations that start pressuring Trump to do that too, as the shortage grows. So it's Trump he's brash, but enough pressure to bear, and he does fold. We've seen that happen before. There's reason TACO exists.
Wang Yi reiterated China's strong support for Iran, saying China supports Iran in safeguarding.
No, that's this thing. The oil crisis is going to happen before the midterms. There's no pushing that back. There's not enough oil to last till the midterms. So he is going to be fucked before the midterms. That's the whole reason I said day one when he bombed the Supreme Leader that this was an absolute mistake, that was going to destroy his presidency, is there was no way for him to win the midterms after he bombed the Supreme Leader. Because there's no way for him to open the straits, and Iran is going to hold the straits closed for 6 months and it wins. I said that too, and we're just about reaching that point soon. You might think that, yes, Trump, President of the United States, all powerful, he won't be cornered, but he is cornered. He cornered himself. It doesn't matter how powerful your country is. If you purposefully go and put yourself in a corner and bomb the Supreme Leader, you're fucked.
Sovereign security and national dignity. He urged an early...
That's another reason I'm kind of pissed at Trump, is I actually want the Republicans to win midterms, but I don't think that's possible anymore because of this idiotic war.
...of negotiations and a return to the previously agreed MOU aimed at reducing tensions. He said the MOU reflected the desire of Iran and the people of the Middle East for peace and stability and should not be abandoned. The most quoted line was, quote, China supports Iran in safeguarding its sovereignty, security, and its national dignity. That's the statement I think you're referring to.
Yes. So clearly China's not selling out Iran. Now, look, the situation for China, it's complex. On the one hand, a larger portion of their economy is dependent upon exports to the global south. But the global south is hurting right now because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and the oil shortage. But at the same time, China is partners with Iran and BRICS. And Iran is supplying China with oil. The only one who's blockading that is the United States.
On what's happening in the oil market, which is what's going to ultimately decide this war. Saw 2 tweets from yesterday that, accounts for global crude exports, but only 12% of global refining. Basically, actually, I have a better one. This guy who's been getting, he has a very detailed series of tweets about it. Yes, global oil shortages are now effectively assured for the September-October 2026 window. And as Australia is not exempt. And I agree with this. It takes months for straits to reopen. It takes a month and a half for ships to get anywhere. Even if strait open now, September-October window, there's going to be drastic shortages. The shortages will start in August, but they'll get bad in September and October. And there's nothing that can be done to avoid it. And this is what's going to force Trump to accept the 60-day MOU.
Not Iran, the United States. And so...
Absolutely. A lot of airline flights will be canceled. Which airline flights will be canceled? The cheaper ones, probably. The discount airlines. Those flights will be the first to go. But it could reach all airlines. It's going to be a jet fuel shortage, a diesel shortage. And gas prices will go up significantly still from where they are now, but the real problems will be in diesel and jet fuel.
In fact, what we've seen China do, it's hardened its position in the last week, closing out all rare earth minerals to Europe as well as the United States.
There's 3 theories from the people I spoke to about this on why Trump didn't strike yesterday and possibly not striking today. The first one is the theory you mentioned is what Robert Barnes told me. One I didn't even think of, and I don't agree with it. But he said that the correspondence dinner, that Trump didn't want attention to him at the correspondence dinner. So that's what Robert Barnes mentioned to me in the morning as well. The second one is one I didn't think of either.
So wait, you disagreed with that? Why?
I think it's...
Well, hopefully your flight is not one of the ones that's canceled. Not all of them will be canceled, but yeah, that's part of the reason why Trump's in trouble. People who have their flights canceled, they're going to be upset. And there's only one person to be upset at. The one who started all this, the one who bombed the Supreme Leader, the one who is currently sitting in the White House.
It's most likely because of the negotiations. He's trying to get an out with the Omanis. He's trying to get an off-ramp. That's my speculation. Otherwise, we would have seen...
Yes, but the kind of off-ramp he wants is one where he survives politically. He basically wants Iran to surrender control of Strait of Hormuz and all his nuclear material. Like that, he can pretend he won and he doesn't, get destroyed politically. But Iran isn't willing to do that. He's never going to give up control of Strait of Hormuz. And so, Trump wants an off-ramp. He just wants an off-ramp where the Strait of Hormuz is opened.
We would have seen strikes maybe even during the dinner or even tonight or tomorrow. But I have a feeling it's because of the negotiations. It's one that would adds up the most.
You carry out those strikes during the dinner, and you get a B-1 plane, B-52, B-2 bomber shot down. People forget the damn dinner. All they're reminded of is that Trump's now got a U.S. pilots captive.
But you've also said a lot of indicators are showing that the strikes might not happen even tonight.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so that's why it could be another reason.
It's just again, we go back to the military bureaucracy, the planning process, what takes place in Central Command at their operations center, what they call the CAT, and then you got a CAT functioning at the Combined Air Operations Center at Shaw, and so normally those two would be, if you're planning an airstrike, etc., the Air Force component is the one that carries it out. They'd be getting the commands, the orders, etc. Their responsibility is to organize, identify the aircraft that are going to be carrying out the mission, make sure that they've got the air refuelers up. It's pretty complex. And I'm just telling you that I was told the guys running the chaos said, we don't know what the hell they're doing at CENTCOM.
Just check Twitter. There's no bombing so far. Either United States or Iran.
Okay. So if there's something afoot, the guys that should be implementing it haven't been told.
I've got a story for you. I'll read it. It just came in now from the New York Times, relevant to our discussion. I'll just give you the other 2 explanations quickly. The second one, it's a military one, is that those aircraft if you're preparing, when as soon as that person saw the strikes not happen yesterday, he's like, oh shit, brace yourself. Because when you're planning a major strike, you'd want the aircraft to kind of take a day or two off to prepare for the major strike where you'd need all of them active at the same time. And he explained the military reasons why that would be. So that's the second
Okay,
scenario.
if you link me, I'll have a look.
Preparation for the major strike. And third scenario is the one I mentioned, the negotiations one, the Omani negotiations. Now, New York Times just put out a piece. The title is Trump holds off on major escalations against Iran as advisors raise concerns. So it just came in now. I'll read it out. Trump has, for now, shelved plans to significantly escalate U.S. military operations against Iran, with concerns that a broader conflict could rapidly deplete already strained stocks of Patriot missile interceptors and other air defense munitions in the Middle East, according to the New York Times, citing Trump administration officials. Officials said dwindling interceptor inventories are among several factors weighing against renewed major combat operations. The administration is also concerned that the risk of a wider regional war, Iranian attacks on Gulf allies, and broader economic, energy, and refugee consequences. Few members of Trump's inner circle support escalating the conflict. One senior U.S. official said there are doubts that renewed strikes would pressure Iran back to negotiations, arguing they instead strengthen internal unity in Iran by shifting attention towards an external.
Absolutely. Bombing the country. Yeah, like U.S. bombs bridges in Iran. That doesn't make Iran hate their own government. It makes the Iranian people hate the U.S.
Threat. So the report says that Trump seems to have called off the escalation of the strikes because of concerns on the depleted munitions, things that we've been discussing for so many weeks and months now. Depleted munitions, the economic impact, the refugees, the consequences when it comes to refugees, the impact on key allies when the Iranians strike the Gulf, and the impact on the energy market as well.
Mm-hmm. Gee, who's been saying that for the last week or so?
Everyone that...
Oh, that would be me.
Everyone I listen to.
Yes.
Yeah, and not just me. I mean, Chris has been saying it as well. A few others. But, it's just, I think, and I just, as we're talking, I just got a report. So let me see.
I've got another one here while you... Okay, well, you have it already?
Yeah, it's titled The American Diesel and Jet Fuel Shell Game, How Unreconciled Military Draws, Rotterdam Transshipment, and Middle East War Operations Are Draining U.S. Diesel and Jet Fuel Resilience. And so the government's pulling critical fuel out of depleted domestic systems, moving it through opaque military and overseas channels, leaving the American economy with the shortage risk.
In other words, the operations we've been carrying out over the last 2 weeks are making the coming jet fuel diesel shortage worse.
So
yeah, that's another reason.
I think that's another. They're starting to wake up and say, okay, this could really, really create some economic harm domestically, and we're going to have to scale back.
Yeah, and so Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Dan Kane has privately cautioned the Trump administration that resuming major combat operations against Iran is doable, but that it would dangerously deplete interceptors available to CENTCOM, according to the New York Times. So it seems it's finally getting to him. We've been talking about the bubble he's on. He's in that prevents that information from getting to him. It's finally seemingly getting to him. So now, just to be clear, this could
maybe Fox News started talking about it since he watches Fox News 3 hours a day.
He's not insane completely. There's still some measure of rationality and reason there.
Yeah, because the depleted interceptors.
Yeah, I'm not as, let's say, bearish on Trump's mental acumen as Larry Johnson. I think, yes, he was tricked into this war, and that's entirely on him, and yeah, I'm not going to make any attempt to defend that. But after being tricked into this war, he's just been under a huge amount of pressure. His political career is basically over, and he doesn't want to accept that. He keeps on trying different things. He's throwing this last tantrum here with the bombings over the last 2 weeks. It's all him not willing to accept his own political demise. And for someone with an ego his size, it makes sense.
It's so freaking concerning. Like they're just at such low levels.
Mario, they're making claims that they've got like 1,000 left. I guarantee you it's probably fewer than 200.
Yeah. So that's a big piece of development. This is one story from the New York Times. Both these are from the same story from the New York Times. But I think that story does... I'd give it some credibility. It's just what I've... it just makes sense. It just makes sense.
Well, particularly what, General Kane, from, people I know that have worked with him, they say he is a decent, he's a good man. He's not, he may be doing some bad things, but he is at heart a good man. And he understands that he can't his job is to be an advisor to Trump. He doesn't command Donald Trump. He doesn't issue orders that override Donald Trump. Again, statutorily, he is Trump's designated military advisor. And so he's learning that art of how to provide advice without making Trump feel threatened, and also making sure he has the information. So if he goes ahead and does something stupid, he can't say, well, nobody told me. Kane's making sure that, hey, you do this, these are the consequences. I'm not saying you can't do it, and I'm not saying it might not work. I'm just telling you, these are the consequences you got to plan for. Now, the old Donald Trump, according to Robert Barnes, would have gone, yeah, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, I think it was Anthony Aguilar.
Well, from what I'm hearing, Pakistan negotiations are going nowhere. The position of China is the U.S. needs to live up to the MOU, and Trump said basically, fuck that. He's not willing to do that for now, so...
That interacted with General Dan Kane, and he was telling me his way of being able to speak to Trump, and I've heard this from others as well.
I feel Don will try to avoid oil for 100. He will say that he needs to soothe the markets and taco. Yeah, no, the problem, he did that once. He did the MOU. But when he signed the MOU, he basically signed an agreement that he had no intention of honoring. He didn't honor any of the U.S. side of the Memorandum of Understanding. Now Iran's position is you need to start honoring the memorandum before we take you seriously. So that means unfreezing assets, lifting sanctions, and lifting blockade, like basically those three to start with. And Trump doesn't want to do that. It'll be very costly for him politically to do any of those. So for now, I don't think anything's going to happen. It's going to happen. We're going to stay in limbo until the political pain from the oil prices, oil shortage, finally caused Trump to cave. But the damage, he now knows the damage to surrendering to Iran will basically finish his presidency. So he has to be staring at really something huge to force him to move.
Is that he doesn't order him around. He gives him various options, and that is his job. His job is not to order him around. And it seems Trump does listen to him.
He's an advisor. But he's statutorily designated. I mean, it's under law. It's under law.
Now, it's very possible, just to be clear, that this is all, leaked intentionally to divert the Iranians, give them a false sense of security. I don't think that, as you know, my position has been the same for a while, but to give them a false sense of security, because meanwhile, Khan News reported that, that's Israeli news, the US continues moving forces and equipment into Israel, including dozens of additional aerial refueling aircraft, fighter jets, and air defense interceptors and munitions. Around 90 US aerial refueling aircraft have arrived at the Ben Gurion Airport, Ramon Air Base, and of the air base. A deployment...
Yeah, I think there's going to be at least one more huge attack against Iran. And one thing I would say about oil prices... during the first phase of the war, I'm sure you had the Secretary of Treasury telling Trump, we can't let oil prices go up right now, or, you'll have some major banks go under and stuff like that. With getting the oil price down to here, that pressure point on Trump is gone. He no longer has Secretary of Treasury telling him we can't let oil prices go 120. Yes, it's bad for Trump for oil prices to go up to 120, but it depends how long they stay up. If he believes he can take out the Iranian regime and get the Straits of Hormuz open through some bombing, and yes, there'll be a spike in oil during that happening, he might still do it. Just like he attacked Supreme Leader and did something that stupid. So we can't discount him doing other stupid things.
Resembling preparations ahead of Operations Roaring Lion, indicating Washington remains prepared for a significant strike.
Now, let me before you go on reading, let me ask you a question. Do you think if the United States launches a massive strike like that, it will lower the price of oil or raise the price of oil?
Oh, lower. It'll make oil so much cheaper. It'll be a bargain. Because you know why?
Yeah, I'm enthralled.
Trump will obliterate Iran's ability to control the Strait of Hormuz, and ships will just flow through.
You do sarcasm pretty well.
Yeah, no, sometimes I say something and then you end up believing it. You're like, what did you just say? So I like when that happens. So the Iranians, New York Times put out another story this morning saying Iran has prepared for a possible attack in recent months by strengthening fortifications and creating obstacles and explosive traps around some of its nuclear facilities, which makes the execution of any ground operation highly risky. True, we haven't spoken much about this in a while. The fact that the Iranians will probably booby-trap the shit out of these nuclear facilities. So already a ground operation...
Over like a 1 month period.
Without these traps is mission impossible. But then you add all these different traps in there, and it becomes a suicide mission even further. So that's probably another reason why, or another point on the list of reasons on why Trump will probably taco again. Trump did say this morning that he told LCI that he would, quote, absolutely consider resuming a full-scale war against Iran if we don't get 100% of what we want. Pretty meaningless statement, but I think it's worth mentioning.
Did he define what it is they want? No, he didn't.
Yeah, he's making shit up on what he wants, and he makes shit up on what he got. But I think what he really wants is, as we've discussed, just the Strait of Hormuz. Iran not controlling the Strait of Hormuz. But I don't.
But he's not going to get that. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. One of my guests mentioned today or yesterday. I don't remember who it was, but they were in the belief that Trump will find some sort of creative way. Trump and the Iranians, they'll find some sort of creative way that will appease both sides. It will maintain Iran. It will allow Iran to charge a fee at the Strait of Hormuz, but not make it look like Iran fully controls the Strait of Hormuz. So Trump has the ability to walk away, and Iran get what they want. And I do believe that. I think, and we've seen indications of that early on. The Iranians started slowly, early in the negotiations, right after the MOU, or even before the MOU. The Iranians already started pivoting from fee and controlling the Strait of Hormuz to we'll be managing and coordinating, and we'll have an environmental fee.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, the rhetoric. Remember when they mentioned Ismail Bekai or something, talked about having some sort of environmental fee? The rhetoric eased up a bit.
Well, no, they didn't. Look, they changed it from we're not charging a toll to we're charging an environmental fee.
Yeah, exactly.
We're charging a toll, okay?
I know.
They changed the name of it.
That's why they'll get what they want. But they're giving him, they allow him slightly to save face. I hope they do, because if they don't, then we're pretty screwed. Because
I don't think they're going to let Trump save face. The only way they establish deterrence is by establishing cost. You can't bomb our supreme leader and then walk away with a victory. So, yeah, I don't think at this point they're going to let Trump save face.
If he wants to walk away, if he asks them, look, guys, take whatever you want. Just make it look like you didn't get everything that you want. And all the Iranians need to do is say, all right, we'll make it seem we didn't get everything we want, but give us everything we want.
The Strait of Hormuz, after the signing of the MOU, was open. But it was open in accordance with the terms that Iran established under the Persian Gulf Strait Authority. The one who violated that, continued trying to test the limits, was the United States. And Iran kept saying, no, ships that want to pass through the Persian Gulf, through the Strait of Hormuz, fill out the application. We've gone over, you had to put down the name of the ship, name of the captain, the name of the owner.
The MOU clearly stated that Iran was in control of the Strait of Hormuz. And the United States tried to challenge that, and that is what ultimately led to the MOU collapsing.
Of the ship, the destination of the ship, the cargo on board the ship, and the identity and the nationalities of the sailors. Submit all that, and Iran would come back. As long as it's not going to Israel and it's not supporting Israel, the ship gets to go through. No problem. And ships were going through with no problem. Then the United States said, "Oh, well, we're closing the Strait of Hormuz now." Okay. And you go back and look. There's nothing. I haven't checked today, but last I checked, there's nothing going through except on the Iranian side. So there's a chemical oil product tanker called the Mayoming. It's headed out. It says it's going to Bandar Abbas to load up. So, but there really haven't been that many ships going out at all. They're all clustered up waiting.
On that note, let's have a look at the chart.
Makes the global crisis in diesel and jet fuel worse. And then the economic damages that are inflicted because of the loss of LNG, the loss of sulfur, the loss of urea, and the loss of helium. That helium one is sort of a permanent loss, or at least for the foreseeable future. That's not getting fixed.
So that's on that front. And then on the Israeli front, Smotrich said the following: "It's true that while the Iran-led axis has been weakened, a new Sunni
It's still down to nothing.
axis may emerge, and we'll have to deal with that." So you've got the rhetoric from Israel talking about that.
What does that mean? The Sunni axis?
Deal with it, or the Sunni axis?
The Sunni axis.
Anyone with Turkey, I think.
Yeah, Turkey and Saudi Arabia. Yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Look, the history of what we call terrorism in the 21st century for the last 26 years. The radical attacks, the attacks on civilians, the beheading of prisoners, the beheading, those were all Sunnis. Those were not Shia. In fact, the Shia themselves many times were the victims of that terrorism by these Salafists, these Takfiris, who insisted that they had the truth and nobody had the truth but them. You find that kind of religious fanaticism. You find it in Judaism, you find it in Christianity. So it's not just unique to the Sunni version of Islam. You find it in the other, look at the settlers in Israel. They're an example of that, if you would, Takfiris, Salafists. And the same you find among a lot of Christian Zionists. So it's, this is the fact that they're recognizing that they might have a problem there. And let's not forget, they bitch, moan, and complain about Hamas being a terrorist organization. Who's the one that pumped $1 billion into Hamas?
Exactly. Good on you, Larry, to mention this. So few people actually mention it. It wasn't just $1 billion. It was $1.8 billion from like 2012 to 2022.
That was Israel.
Yeah.
He used Qatar as a cutout, but it was Israel pumping the money.
Yep.
And they did it because they were looking to, split the Palestinians. So it comes back to bite you in the rear end.
Yeah, I asked. I never did a deep dive into this. I asked one of the,
I'm glad someone else that I watch finally mentions it. That yes, Israel funded Hamas.
I speak to people from Israel, and I asked them on the show about this, the money sent to Hamas, and the argument they make, I don't believe the argument. I think the argument was to weaken both sides so they don't come together and form a Palestinian state. But the argument that
yes, it was to prevent a Palestinian state. They clearly say it. The article that explains for years Netanyahu propped up Hamas. Now it's blown up in our faces. And why did we do that? The idea was to prevent Abbas or anyone else in the Palestinian Authority's West Bank government from advancing towards establishment of a Palestinian state. So yeah, fund Hamas, a group of radical terrorism, and Palestinians will never coalesce together in one political entity, and so there will never be a pressure for a Palestinian state.
Made was this was at the Qatari request to allow it into Gaza for humanitarian purposes.
No, that's a lie. Go to YouTube, look up Mehdi Hassan, and Israel's funding of Hamas. He did a 30-minute video on it. It's not just
I spoke to
Mehdi offering his opinion. He's got quotes. I mean, he's got Israeli officials, intelligence, military officials on the record admitting to it.
Yeah.
So it's,
there are hundreds of articles about it too, the flow of money from Qatar to Hamas. There was a whole big row between the Gulf states back around 2014 about Saudi Arabia being upset because of Qatar's support for Hamas. So it's an open secret.
It has as well.
Yeah. So
but they admit on the part this was to weaken both sides so they don't form a Palestinian state. Is that what they? Is that to keep Hamas active so the two factions don't join and strengthen the Palestinian cause?
It was a cynical play. But again, if you claim that your goal is to fight terrorism, but you end up funding terrorists, you got to sit back and say, okay, don't feed me the bullshit line that you're fighting terrorism. Same applies to the United States. We claim, we're against terrorism. Then they accuse Iran of being the number one sponsor of terrorism, which it is not.
Yep, that's one thing Asmongold repeatedly states. Iran, number one sponsor of terrorism. It's not.
By any measure. Not. Absolutely not. It's the very groups that the United States has funded. ISIS.
Exactly.
Hayat Tahrir al-Sham.
The worst terrorism in the last 20 years was ISIS in Syria, genociding Christians.
It'd be al-Shadow that we've now put in office. And yet, just 7 years ago, he was on the $10 million reward list, and his group was one listed always as the top 10 most active terrorist groups in terms of killing civilians. So we overlooked that. He didn't mean it.
And the last story today is from The Telegraph. Iran has used migrant smuggling routes across the English Channel to send suspected covert operatives into the United Kingdom. UK authorities intercepted individuals with alleged links to Iran's intelligence services while they attempted to enter Britain among small boats. Officials used drones and AI-equipped surveillance drones to identify and stop suspected Iranian-linked arrivals. The report says that some migrant smuggling routes across Europe are controlled by the IRGC, particularly its Unit 700, the logistics branch of the Quds Force, which allegedly facilitates the movement of operatives into Europe and the UK. An Iranian official told The Telegraph that revolutionary people had been positioned in London and warned Iran could easily make London unsafe if it chose to do so, describing smuggling routes as more useful than missiles. British officials believe the number of suspected Iranian-linked individuals arriving via small boats is far smaller than those entering legally on flights from Europe. So that's about remember the discussion about having those cells,
Yeah. UK isn't controlling migration in any way, so I don't take this story seriously.
Sleeper cells that Iran had. So this is part of that.
Gee, I guess there's no chance that could just be propaganda. I mean, we know the Brits do such an effective job of stopping illegal migrants coming into the country. I mean, they've got like an iron wall out there, so they catching them all. And man, they do not tolerate rape gangs, Muslim rape gangs in the UK. Are you kidding? Boy, they really cracked down on those. I mean, Keir Starmer led the charge on that.
Yeah.
Hey, I win the Mario Nafal.
He's saying exactly what I am.
Why wouldn't the Iranians? So it strategically makes sense. Why not have countries have spies across the world? I'm sure Iranians have spies across Europe as well.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure they do. But the purpose of those spies is to find out what the hell the Brits are going to do to them.
Yeah.
I mean, look, their focus right now is surviving a war that's being waged by the United States and Israel. And now the Brits.
The Brits aren't playing a huge role, though.
Brits are joining in.
Oh, are they really?
The Brits are joining
launching, launching B-1 bombers from their territory. The Brits are now
from the base.
participating.
Okay,
Yeah.
but that's different than participating directly.
Oh, well, we haven't talked about British SAS forces that are in Iraq and bases working maybe with Kurds to carry out attacks against Iran.
Oh, that's new to me. Why are you dragging the Brits in there, Larry? Let them figure out their own problems. Keep them out of it. Don't trigger the Iranians on the Brits now. Last thing, imagine a ballistic missile heading to London. What air defense are they going to use there?
Well, they don't have any, but apart from that.
True.
That's it. That's the news for today. I'm glad that New York Times story came out. Which is
Well, this was a interesting little video. Covered everything that's going on. Middle East still a mess. Oil prices will be shooting up Monday because of the war with the Houthis. And we just need to wait. There's probably going to be some huge operation at some point by Trump against Iran. This might be the lull before that storm. And it won't accomplish anything, except Iran will strike back hard. And the tit for tat will continue until the oil shortage begins. Anyway, this will be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Come watch on Kick or Twitch, and I'll see you next video. Bye.